Greetings and welcome back to Dawn of Man HP. This episode of our story begins in summer of the 7th year. And by the winter of that year, we had a new arrival, a new child email. The only issue here is it's a 4th girl. So now we have Goric and 7 women in the village. Up to 8 population is great, but we still need some diversity here to safeguard the future. The next fall, we had our second death in the camp. Ahmad, again, one of the starting adults, just was minding her own business over here and just collapsed underneath this, what is it? It's a chestnut tree, yep. Okay. So Arian is carrying her over to the burial mound, and we're going to watch this a bit. It's just another death, but I think this time we're going to see them do their normal morale recovery, worship, veneration bit, which we didn't get to see with Varenkal, so hang out with this for a moment. They do it with most of them. I just don't know why Varenkal didn't get the treatment, but regardless, it drops off the body, runs away, and, it had decayed. But then here comes children, and they're simply going to bow down at the burial mound. And then here comes Amand, who is of the same age. You could say possibly a sister or a, relative of that nature. In any case, as it turns to winter, others will come shortly and properly venerating. With another spring arriving, it was time for our next upgrade, 8 knowledge. And this is a big one, composite tools. Get a whole bunch of flint tools, and they're not all actually immediately useful. I did switch over to the flint spears right away rather from the bone spears. But that actually might not have been the best idea. Bones are a renewable resource, flint is not, and their stats are the same. Now the harpoons, those are still going to be made out of bone. And then we have the flint axe, which is a decent fighting one, but more importantly it's our first woodcutting option. First mining option is the flint pick. So those are 2 actions we have not been able to do before, and now we can, if we set the proper resource settings. Just need a couple axes and a couple picks. I don't really want to have a lot of those. No reason to change the spear limit just because it's on a different material. And by the way, flint is the most advanced material we're going to be able to see for a long time until we get into the Metal Ages when it comes to making these kind of things. So whatever you pick here, you're kind of stuck with it for a while. You can always switch back and forth between the flint and the bone. That can be useful. But we're going to speed this along. And we're going to get these made eventually. And as they do, what I wanted to do here is just create a little bit more space now. And we don't need more stone, but I'm just going to get it out of the way so we have used some of this area near the camp. So, nope, that's not what I want. There we go. Work area, stone. We'll shrink it down to the minimum, so we're only using this one. We have both people that get one use, and then we're going to boost it up enough to where they'll take everything. Because there's 20 in each of these piles that we can eventually get. And of course we can see this right here. So we're working away. We've got a couple of them. We just need people to come over here and do the job, which should be happening shortly, I would think. Everybody's running around doing various other things. They're, busy at the crafter. Somebody's going to build another pick, and we're eating, and, it takes a while for people to actually get to a new job. More eating. Now you're wandering off. Is somebody coming to do this? There we go. Amand is going to be on the task. Oldest person in the village, I think, right now. And they pound away at this. And it takes a while. If you just use for example, we could use this to just mine over here. They'll mine a few, and then they'll walk away from it. So if you want to get rid of the whole thing, you need a work area. If you just want a little bit, that's the one you use. But I find it not to be useful. I'd rather just set a work area and limit the total amount. That just, it's much easier. So there we go. We've gotten one of them out. You can see this is down to 19, and it will take quite a while. It took, I think, about half a year to get this done. They'll eventually, other people will show up and cart them away as more of it gets set down. See, there we go. We're just knocking it off the pile there. And pound, pound, pound. This is a lengthy process, a strenuous process, a back-breaking process, but it eventually did get cleared out. Every once in a while, a new opportunity comes up in hunting, and here's our first shot at a bison, which is almost dead. And we got everybody heading over that way. Of course, we've got our better weapons now, at least some of them, but mostly this is just the thing's almost dead. There we go. One shot and down gets us another knowledge point, and 6 meat and 3 skins, 2 bones. These are quite a nice trove of resource to knock out. The demise of Aryan in the fall made it for quite an eventful year overall, especially because we had some animal attacks in between. If we follow this up, you can see we've got a third skin dryer that I've put in place, and that's because we needed extra space. The cave lions simply won't leave us alone, and so after we'd killed a couple more of them, we had to do all of this. So Aryan is the latest to be brought to the burial mound. And we've got more people coming in, going to pay their respects. I think we've got more children coming around the other side. Well, that's not a child, but more people coming around the other side. Yes. Everybody doing the honorable thing. The winter was notable for one reason and one reason alone. Disappears into the tent, at least for the moment, staying in the tent. Come back out of the tent, please. Just going to sit there. Okay, fine. This is Tarzor. Tarzor is a male child. Yes, we finally got one. And notice, Gorik is old, but he can still do his fatherly duty, shall we say, as an old man. Whereas, obviously, women have to be of a certain age to give birth. So, women are more important than men to the survival of the species in that particular aspect. But Tarzor will be able to carry on the tradition, and so genetics finally coming our way. Right at the start of the next year, we had a dog die on us for the first time, and you can butcher them ahead of time. Do this, slaughter them. But what basically happens is you get... Oh, there it is, it's gone, but you get 1 unit of meat out of it. And we're actually not going to get it here because the cave lion came in and chewed on it. Oh, that's hilarious. And the thing is, it didn't fight us. It just walked off. It's a young one. It came off and ate up our dog. Whatever. But that is an option if you really need meat. Usually not worthwhile to take advantage of it. You don't get any skins or bones out of it. So in the fall here, we got this boar killed, but it was not without opposition. We had a cave lion here. The bears were actually fighting the cave lion with us for a bit, which was really weird. And then there's a young cave lion over here that kept trying to steal the boar kill, but we eventually got it. The main thing to know here, though, is that these kills gave us enough knowledge for us to move up to the next step. This is a big one. This is tanning. It'll give us those leather outfits we want during the summer eventually. And this is going to take a bit of unpacking here, both in terms of the game and also the history. So the game first. We need to build a tanner. It's our latest production building we unlocked. We need a log and 3 sticks. And this is, of course, why we had to get composite tools, because without composite tools, we can't cut down trees for the log. So we placed that. And this doesn't need to be on that high priority. We're definitely going to add in the leather outfits here. So let's boost that to 100%. And then we're going to cut down this beech tree basically because it's just out of the way. And let's speed things up a bit here to get people working on all this. The tanners require raw skins, and they also require tannin. Hence the name tanning leather. So we're going to place a work area for tannin, and the best spot just happens to be right over here. There's a whole bunch of the trees that we can get from it, which in the game and in life is oak. You can get it from other things in real life, but oak is a very common place to get an oak bark. We're going to drop down to 5 of those. These we can get to last 1 year. We can only harvest them, as you can see here on the tooltip, in the spring. But then we also have to deal with the skins aspect of this, because if we have all of our raw skins coming over here to get dried all the time, then they're never going to be able to be used in that. So now we have to manage raw skins for leather versus dry skins for other things. So the resource management gets a little bit more complicated. I'm knocking this down to 5 to keep a reasonable balance. And there were times when we had raw skins that just went bad because of this. But, you know, it's just sort of something you've got to weigh in terms of how you want to get that automated. And now we're chopping down this tree. Oh, yeah, we're almost there. Slow us down just a bit. There we go. And logs are like stones. You move slowly with them. They hurt your morale, etc. to carry them by hand. But you get a few logs, few sticks from each of these trees. And it's the only place where we can naturally produce logs, which means it's the only way we can get this done. And now they're bringing this over here. So from the history side, how does this work? Well, tannins are... Here's a bit of word salad for you. They're a class of astringent polyphenolic biomolecules that bind to and precipitate proteins and various other organic compounds, including amino acids and alkaloids. Okay, let's return to English now. Tannins are a molecule that is found in a lot of the different plants. They're extracted by various different methods, but you do find them on the inside of bark, especially tree bark, oak bark, most common. If you've ever had fruit that wasn't fully ripe, or certain types of beverages give you a dry, puckery feeling in your mouth, that's the tannins at work. And there's still things we're learning about how they actually function. For example, we know that they act as a natural pesticide. By the way, here's our tanner building real quick. I didn't want to totally skip over that. But you can see it's got the leather, and we want to actually, we'll max out our leather at 5 as well for now. I would eventually drop it down lower. But getting back to the tannins themselves, we know they act as a pesticide. We think they do some things with regulating plant growth, and they're trying to understand more, even now, exactly how they work, what exact roles they play, so they can understand, for example, how is climate change going to affect a lot of the northern forest where there's a lot of plants and trees and whatnot that have tannin in them. This is kind of an interesting question in terms of how did people discover this effect? And how did they discover how to make leather? And this is a simplification, what's in the game here. You just have like the rawhide, dry skins, and the leather. And there's actually, of course, multiple steps that happened in between there. People learn to rub animal fats into the hides and make them a little more supple, a little more pliable, and they would soak them in lime solution for a while and then go back and forth between this. The actual process of tanning leather initially, we think it took at least 6 months and possibly longer, possibly closer to a year before everything was happening. But the whole thing with, like the inside of oak bark is where we think they originally started doing this. And how did somebody discover that? I mean, who was the... You imagine the person had to be sort of the village idiot, because they would, I'm just imagining, I mean, you can think of how people would do dehydrating food. I mean, they would just notice that it left out and it was dried out and preserved. And, you know, the idea of cooking food, that it would taste better and you'd feel better afterwards after eating it. Those types of inventions, you know, wearing hides around you to keep warm, those are a lot more logical. But did somebody just, you know, mess around with the local plants or whatever, and they noticed that the inside of the bark, they liked the texture of it or whatever, and they started rubbing it on things. I mean, how did we discover this originally? I mean, is that what happened? And then after a while, they noticed, after people were making fun of them for this, oh, boy, your clothes don't seem to be deteriorating as fast as ours. Boy, they're really flexible. Let me get some of that nasty stuff you've been smearing all over the place. I don't know. I mean, it's not something that I think that we really understand. We do know that we have been using leather for several thousand years. It eventually became very commonplace as a primary clothing for people. But just sort of how all that developed is very curious to me. So in the spring, they started gathering up the tannin. We can see that here. We've got a bit of a food problem. We're going to be resolving that fairly quickly. Going to need to do some more hunting. But then also, we've got a population boom coming. 9 population now, capacity of 15, but all 4 of the adult women are all pregnant. So we're finally going to get a bit of an explosion, and that will both help and cause some challenges, I would expect. Well, just about exactly a year, actually less than a year after we got tanning, we were ready for another upgrade. And the main reason that is we've boosted up to 10 now, added another tent, so we have plenty of space. We're in double digits. We are a respectable village, or at least a small village. We will get another +3 boost when we get to the next 5. See, we've got our leather outfits all built for everybody, so we are doing quite well with all of that. So our next upgrade is going to be dog training. And this allows the dogs to help out with hunting. So they do more than protect. Now they're actually going to be aggressively helping us procure our food. Let's see. And I don't want anything down by the river. I don't want to mess with the river. Let's see if we can find anybody off these other ways that is decent. You know what? I think I'm just going to go down an old Megaloceros down further by the river. I just want to give us sort of a running start on this hunt, just as a demonstration of what the dogs can do. So let's see. What do we have? Speed this up a bit till we get into position. Here we go. We got some movement over this way. There we go. And the dog's running to catch up. Slightly more normal-ish speed now. So we've got the 2 hunters and the dog with it. They're going to help chase this thing down, I hope. There they go. They're running after it. It's going through. And see the dog swimming over there trying to bite at it. And then we're going to get it on the other side. And that's our first Megaloceros kill. We can take a look at what the elderly versions of them give us. 5 meat, 3 skin, and 1 bone. So those are pretty good. But the main thing here is just see that the dogs are indeed going out and giving us that assist. And now that it's reached the other side, it's going to turn around and swim back. They can often chase down the animals quicker than the humans are able to. After a while, we need to go hunting again. I decided to put our newfound canine friends to the test against this woolly rhino. It's an old one and it's slightly wounded. But the woolly rhino, they're not as bad as a mammoth, but they're one of the more dangerous non-aggressives that is available. So you see we've got a dog and we've got 3 of us going after it. And we're really having to hit it hard, but we finally got it. Get +2 for woolly rhino because of how powerful they are. But then also notice, even the elderly ones, 9 meat, 6 skins, and 3 bones. So we can handle some pretty big prey now. And we're all the way up to 13 people in the village. Inception is booming. We're at the late Paleolithic period now. We are going to be, all we really need is the sling making there, and then we can start moving into the next era. So a lot of things are looking great around here. I think this is a reasonable point to leave off. Be coming back next time as we try to transition into the Mesolithic era and see what other adventures we can get up to. Until then, thanks for watching, everybody. More Dawn of Man will continue.